back to another episode of Simply Medicare. I'm your host, Debbie Stoup, your Michigan Medicare specialist, and I am very excited today to bring two very special guests and friends of mine, and I'm going to let them introduce you. But they are clients that have worked with me, and so I'm really excited to hear their journey both before and after working with me. So folks, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Debbie Kinde.
And I'm Jim Kazakos.
I knew Debbie when we worked together at the Red Cross. We were a dynamic duo when we went to teach classes together. I have a lot of admiration for Debbie. She's got a lot of spunk. She made me laugh. She made the classes fun. And we worked together for a long time.
I just met Debbie through Debbie. And she was a real straight shooter. I got a lot more information than I previously got from my existing company insurance plan. And she really enlightened me and informed me and gave me a much better insurance policy than I originally had through my company that I worked for 30 years.
Well, that's really great to hear. So Debbie, Debbie, talk a little bit about your background and what you do at the Red Cross. What did we do at the Red Cross?
Well, it figures that you would now be selling insurance, teaching people about how to get Medicare and things. We did a lot of teaching. We taught CPR, first aid, babysitting, pet CPR, bloodborne pathogens. Like a safe baby. I don't know. We taught babysitting to a bunch of little kids. We taught all kinds of things to all kinds of people. And we did that for a lot of years. I know probably both of us have gotten letters from people that have actually used what we taught them. And we made a difference. We were a good team.
It was super fun. I mean, we got to go to a different company every day and teach CPR, first aid, you name it, anything in the health and safety industry that companies needed, they would call the Red Cross and we would go out. And every day was a new adventure. We took our mannequins with us and everybody got to perform and practice on them for CPR and first aid. It was fun.
We had classes in factories, in schools, in churches, outside, inside, in airplanes.
Airplanes, tell that story.
Yeah, we did one I did one in an airplane one time, and the guy took off. He wanted to see what it was like to do CPR in the air.
Oh my gosh.
That's a little unusual.
So we had all kinds of stories to tell about that.
Oh, yeah. And I remember one time we had to go. We were way on the north end of Woodward Avenue, and we had to drive down Woodward Avenue in a snowstorm, like everything was closed. And we got there like an hour and a half late, but they were there and we taught and we had a good time. So we just, there weren't any excuses. You just did it. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And how long do you think you were working at the Red Cross?
I worked there 24 years.
Yeah.
It started out as I just wanted to volunteer there a couple nights a month to get away, have some adult conversation while my kids were little. And pretty soon I was teaching people who were getting paid. And I finally called up one day and said, how come I'm not getting paid? Right. And they said, because you haven't asked yet. So come on in. I did an interview and I was teaching them next day.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was a glorious time. So Jim, tell us a little bit about who you are.
I worked for an automotive supplier for 30 years. It was called the Bud Company. They originally made truck wheels, and then they branched out into automotive stampings, and then were like a first tier supplier to the Ford Motor Company and General Motors and the big three. I worked for them as a facilities engineer, which we did construction, automation, shipping, and various tasks along the production line. I was also involved with industrial engineering, which had a little interest in health and safety. And one of the things that we would study would be how to prevent injuries, workplace injuries on repetitive operations. And so we found that that was a very interesting and very important part of manufacturing, was the health and safety of our employees. So that's how I got involved with, well, I met Debbie in a whole different arena. So I don't know that we need to discuss that right now, but that's what my background is.
Maybe that's for another podcast.
Yeah, I think so.
Right. And
Right.
you guys are, you've got some trips planned. And so it sounds
Yep.
like you've got a lot of really fun things to look at.
Retirement, we earned it.
You absolutely did. And that's kind of when I talk to folks about Medicare is I say, you have earned the right to not be stressed out about your health insurance anymore. Leave that up to the professionals. Your responsibility is to go out and enjoy your life. You've earned it. You've saved for it, blood, sweat, and tears. And so it is your responsibility to go out and do that. So I'm glad that you have a lot of things on the horizon. So talk about your journey, Jim, mostly. Talk about your journey to me. How did you get to me, and what were you doing before that?
I had an insurance company, but when I retired, they went on a secondary plan, and that secondary plan, they did inform me about a lot of the options that I needed to take advantage of or to use. And one of the ones was prescription medicine. In the past, I never really needed prescription medicine, so I never really signed up for it. But it turns out that because of not signing up for it after retirement, there was a penalty that I had to pay. And I realized that after...
Excuse me, I have to take this. I'm so sorry.
All right.
It's real life.
So it turned out that there was a penalty for not having drug coverage. And when I got involved with you really provided me with a lot of good information. And my insurance policy or my insurance coverage actually went up for less money, except for the penalty that I had to pay. So you really enlightened me on the benefits of dealing with you. You're a very honest, straightforward, and informative individual, which I didn't get any of that with my previous insurance company. They were always standoffish. They were always vague. They were always you need to figure it out, instead of informing me what my options were. So that was my experience. And I had this insurance company for the entire time that I was with my company, and I thought that they would take care of us, but they really didn't when it really came to use them. So you've done a tremendous job helping me out with my current insurance now.
So do you feel, in your opinion, when you're in Medicare, do you feel like it's good to have somebody in your corner that you can count on, or do you feel like it's not a big deal, I got this on my own?
No, it does help, because there's so many variations and so many options and so many different conditions that I can't be informed like that. There's no way that I would be able to understand and to be able to negotiate or navigate all the different areas that I need to do. You've been very helpful. And I think by having somebody like you, it's really helped me out on understanding and navigating through all the different requirements and options that are available.
And just let everybody know, how much did it cost you to work with a professional?
It didn't cost me anything. And you saved me a ton of money. And I got much better coverage. So it's a benefit. There was no cost at all.
So what do you mean about a ton of money? So
Well,
why just switching from one plan to another plan? How did that save you money?
because I got better coverage. It cost me less money because they were supposed to be a minimal premium, but they had different levels. If you were to take the dental and the prescription and all the other options, they cost more money. There was additional cost to it. But with your plan, I didn't pay anything extra for any of it, except for the penalty that I incurred because of being misinformed by my last insurance company. So I have to pay now. I'm going to have to pay like a penalty for the rest of my life because I didn't have the proper coverage and they didn't inform me about it.
And I have
Yeah,
to say, that when I met Jim and I found out that he didn't have prescription coverage, I tried really hard to get him to talk to somebody about Medicaid and all that kind of stuff. He just wouldn't hear about it until I said that I knew somebody who was really good in the field. And then he finally agreed to talk to you.
Yeah, and that's when I found out all the different things that they were misleading me on.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate when you're working with somebody and it's not their main gig. It's really difficult to understand all the laws and everything that's associated with it.
But they should have been trusted. They were through my my company, and I was a loyal employee for 30 years, and they're supposed to be looking out for my best interest. So I never really questioned anything. And then when it came up and she introduced me to you, you know, it was a totally different picture.
Mm-hmm.
And then I discovered that when you were talking to him, you said, well, let me check yours. And I didn't even think about mine because I thought mine was pretty good coverage under my employer benefits. And you said, well,
you too.
Think about this plan. And I was floored. I was so surprised that my plan was not as good as your plan was.
Right.
And even though my employer was paying most of it, I got so many more benefits from the plan you gave me than what I was getting from my.
So we recommend you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. But I think you touch on a really important topic where both of you do. And I hear this a lot. I'm getting coverage through my employer, so it's the best. They've told me it's the best.
Yep.
Other employees tell me it's the best.
Yep.
When really you look into it, it may be the best for somebody, but it's not the best for you. And the way that we can determine that is just to simply look at how much is it costing you per month for a premium and a deductible versus, and in addition to, how much is it costing you out of pocket per month? How much does it cost to see your doctor? How much does it cost to see your mental health therapist? How about your dentist? What about those 3 prescriptions? How much are those costing you? So you've been told that it's the best, but it may not be. And a lot of times folks don't even know that they can go outside of what their employer is offering them, whether they're working or not. They could be retired like you folks were, or they could still be working full time. They have the option to go outside of that employer and to get coverage. And Jim, I want to talk a little bit about that penalty. So talk a little bit about that if you can. So when you don't have coverage, like for example, at your employer, you may have thought, oh, I don't have any prescriptions, or they're very inexpensive, or I use a discount app to get my prescriptions at my local pharmacy. So it sounds like there was no one there to tell you.
Exactly.
You need to have a prescription coverage, because if you don't, when you sign up for it, so let's say 5 years down the road, you need an expensive medication. So you reach out and you get a prescription drug plan, and then CMS, Center for Medicare Medicaid Services, goes back and takes every single month that you did not have prescription drug coverage, multiplies it by something, and then that's how much you have to pay for the rest of your life per month. So for example, if you did not have it for 2 years, that's 24 months that you didn't have it. they assess a penalty for that 24 months, and you have to pay that for the rest of your life. Even if your prescription drug plan is $0, you still pay that penalty for not getting it at the age of 65. Is that what happened to you?
That's exactly right. I was never informed. They asked if I wanted drug coverage. I said, well, I don't need to have drug coverage. It was an additional cost. And I said, well, I don't take anything and I'm, pretty healthy, so I don't need it. So I didn't take it, but they did not inform me that there would have been a possible penalty or that I needed to have drug coverage so there wouldn't be a penalty down the road. And that really upset me. And they put me off and they didn't say anything. I kept inquiring and they said, well, it looks like you have it, but somebody will get back to you. No one ever got back to me. Nobody ever contacted me and informed me until I actually started to really press them. And then they produced a document that said, well, you said you opted out of the medical coverage, but they never told me that there was going to be a penalty down the road. And now I'm stuck with it. So now I have to pay the penalty for the rest of my life. And I thought it was a little unfair that they more or less, I think they misled me, if not lied to me. So I was a little upset about that.
But even though you're paying a penalty, so let's just grab a random number of, say, $10 a month. Okay. I don't know how much your penalty is. You don't tell us. It's still gonna be better in the long run because you're getting a super great price on your medications now that you have coverage. And in the long run, it's going to save you money, even though you have to pay that penalty.
Right. Exactly.
It's still worth it to stop the bleeding, pay the penalties so that you're not going on and on and on for months and months or years.
Years, right.
Years because you didn't know. And now you're getting a good price on your medications. So just because you didn't have it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, I'm never going to be able to get it, or the penalty is going to be much greater than the benefit. We don't know that until we actually dissect it. So I'm glad that you were able to have a good outcome with that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And it was all due to your honesty and informing me about everything. So, yeah, it worked out fine. It was a little annoying, but in the long run, it's the best thing I could have done.
Yeah, because on down the road, when you need that expensive medication, that $10 penalty is going to seem pretty insignificant to the
Exactly.
huge amount of savings.
And he did play that card with me when I said, we need to talk to somebody about getting you on a plan. He said, well, I have an app and I can go to the drugstore and we can get the price down to a reasonable price. And I said, okay, that's for this medication, but what happens with the next medication?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
will
the app cover every medication?
Right.
And then dental coverage that what I had to pay for, that I got it now included in the policy, saves me a ton of money. I mean, more than the policy, more than I would have had to pay previously. So this is much better.
So, yeah, so working with somebody who kind of understands Medicare, the laws, and
it's honest.
And honest. I know. Why is that so difficult?
I don't know why. It should be a normal thing. Honesty. What's wrong with honesty? And why do we have to lie to people, mislead them? I was very upset with my last provider because they were always avoiding my questions and my inquiries about the coverage. And so that was very upsetting to me. And it's really refreshing to have somebody that's honest.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. Let me ask you, Jim, because I bet there are other folks out there like you and possibly Debbie as well. Why were you hesitant to talk to someone outside of your organization? Or why were you hesitant to talk to someone when you felt like, I can do this on my own? I'm smart. I mean, look where I've gotten in life. I'm smart. I've made it. Why and at what point did you realize, okay, I am going to talk to someone, because not because I maybe can't do this on my own, but maybe because I don't want to do it on my own? What got you to that point?
Mine was I trusted the representatives because I had worked with them in the past, being an employee, and I trusted them to tell me the truth and to inform me, where indeed they were just avoiding me. They weren't telling me the truth and misleading me. And Debbie said, well, look, just talk to her, just talk to Debbie and see what's going on. And then when I was informed by you, then I saw that there was a misleading and a mistrust. So I trusted them. The basic reason is I trusted them to be honest and fair because we were employees together. So that's a big part of it. And now, my eyes are open, and now I question more about everything because of that.
And I think I was hesitant to ask because I had doctors I liked, dentists I liked. I have local eye care. I didn't want to have to travel a long way. And my employer insurance covered all of them. And I was just really afraid if I changed insurance companies, I would lose the professionals I liked. And so I appreciated the fact that you took down the names of who I used and made sure that they were going to be in the same coverage. I didn't have to change anybody. I have all the same doctors, all the same dentists. I didn't change a single provider at all.
I got more and for less.
Yes.
So that's the reason.
I think that that's really important, and I'm glad you brought that up because that could be what's going on in folks' head. I don't want to change plans, whether it's good or not good, a good fit for me or not, because I'm afraid that I might have to move doctors or I might have to change my prescriptions, where in fact that's not the case at all. My goal, and anybody who works in Medicare that's professional, will make sure that they find a plan out of all the plans that are offered in your zip code. They'll find a plan that works with all of your doctors and all of your prescriptions and your dentist and your eye doctor and your pharmacy and that's really important. And I think, Debbie, you kind of hit on something that perhaps is a reason why folks won't reach out to see if there's something else better, because maybe they'll get pressured into something where if you feel pressure, then you're not working with the right person.
Right.
I think. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I was comfortable with the idea that my employer plan was really good. I don't have any problem with that, but there were so many more benefits that I didn't know were available. And I really, I benefited just by just signing a few papers. It was easy. It wasn't a big deal. I didn't have to take paperwork to my doctor. I didn't have to do anything. You made it real easy. I just signed a couple documents to switch over. When I went to my doctor, it was real easy to update the insurance. There wasn't any issue there. So it was an easy process. I was a little bit afraid of, the paperwork. It's always the paperwork.
But it was more beneficial.
And it was easy. So it was not difficult at all.
And I've talked to countless folks that have told me, and I'm sure that you guys got this experience as well. Well, if you leave us, you can never come back.
That's exactly what they told me.
Mm-hmm. And what I always
want to go back, and I don't want to go back.
Right. And what I tell folks is, let's not leave your employer insurance unless you're 100% comfortable with what we have found for you. And them saying you can't come back should not scare you, because you're comfortable.
It was an intimidation factor that wasn't true. Mm-hmm. I ended up getting better than what they were offering, and they tried to almost intimidate me. They said, if you don't come back, you lost. Well, I'm okay with that. I didn't lose anything. I gained.
Right. But you don't know unless you ask. So I would encourage folks that are in your situation, because there are a lot of people that are just taking their employer coverage, to talk to somebody to see, is it possible that I could get the same or better coverage outside of my employer? And that can be a scary thing, but you're not losing anything by checking. So,
you're
And
mostly gonna gain.
And you know, I was reluctant. You know, even though you're a good friend, I was a little bit reluctant. I did check with the doctor. I did check with, you know, a couple of different providers to make sure that not only did they take it, but was it the same benefits? Did I have the coverage I needed? And it turns out I had better coverage
Right,
by switching.
yeah, because not all plans are the same. And
exactly.
just because they advertise a lot on television or through your junk mail or have money to hire solicitors, maybe out of the country, call you, doesn't mean that they're better. They just have more money to push solicitors in trying to convince you to call. So it's important to work with somebody who can kind of cut through all that mess and just hyper focus on finding a plan that's good for each of you. And for both of you, it happened to have been the same plan, but it's not uncommon that I will have folks that are best friends or married, that maybe wife or husband has one and the other spouse, the spouse has something different from another company, because it's based on your medications and your pharmacy and your doctors and your specialist. So
That's
it's
true.
Yeah, it's just not necessary.
And you're knowledgeable. One of the things I found is my previous insurer wasn't as knowledgeable. They couldn't answer the questions. They are always saying, well, we'll look into it and we'll let you know. And that doesn't do me any good. You were precise. You had answers. You were very responsive to everything we needed. So
And he had questions.
I am always got questions.
And that's great. You know what? I'm a person that asks a million questions as well. And people that in the industry with me know that. They're like, oh yeah, she asks a million questions. And I always kid. I say, when I call folks in the industry and they see my name pop up, they're like, oh boy, yep, she's calling. Because they know I am persistent, but I want to thoroughly understand something, because how can I help other folks if I don't thoroughly understand it?
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Well, you did a good.
But it is not your job to thoroughly understand everything. What my goal is to make you feel so comfortable that you can just go on with the rest of your life and not worry about your Medicare. But should things show up, you're like, what is her name? What is her name? I know I can call her. Oh yeah, her name is Debbie. Well, yeah, that's easy, right, Jim? You'll never forget that.
Right.
But
Exactly.
there's somebody out there that I can rely on all the time, not a one and done. They're there to help you. So my goal has been achieved. It sounds like with you folks, you guys are like, I don't need to think about this. And when I do, I can just call. And that's important to me to hear that.
And I feel very comfortable with everything because I know it's done right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been very beneficial to me.
All right. Okay. I'm going to keep you guys around. When I go out and speak, I want to make a poster of you and just put you up and say, here's the poster, folks, of what a good Medicare plan looks like. And that's another episode of Simply Medicare with Debbie Stoup, your Michigan Medicare specialist. Looking forward to seeing all of you again soon. Bye. If you've enjoyed this edition of Simply Medicare podcast and you don't want to miss any future episodes, please make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Please also leave comments and offer feedback so we can make this podcast the best it can be for you. If you need assistance with your Medicare signup or you just have general Medicare questions, make sure to reach out to me at 248-227-0347. You can also reach me online at MichiganMedicareSpecialist.com or through my email at Debbie@MichiganMedicareSpecialist.com. I really look forward to working with you soon.